Welcome to the second Pogo3d Mapmaking tutorial. In this video, I'm going to be taking a new map from start to finish. My goal is to give you a feel for how to keep things organized while mapping. If you get confused at any point during this video, I recommend you go back and watch the previous one. And if you are still confused after that, try hopping into the Hedge Wizards Discord. Don't be afraid to ask in there for help, we're all super friendly. If you're watching this live, there's been a few changes to the Pogo3d.fgd since last time. I'm just going to show you real quick how to copy that back over. So I'm going to go to the Pogo3d build folder to Trench Broom, and I'm going to copy this Pogo3d folder. I'm going to go into my bar here and type %appdata%, and then I'm going to click on Trench Brew Games, and I'm going to delete the old one and paste in the new one. The first trick I'm going to show you here is that the bigger your grid size is when you start, the more sane you will be by the end of you making your map, because it'll be way easier to align stuff if everything aligns to the 128 grid, for example, or the 256 grid. For this video, I'm going to be sticking to the 64 grid, and you can change these with the number keys. So I'm going to go to the 64 grid. I'm going to make this a 4x4 by 1 little box here. Now I'm going to put a texture on it, so I'll go to Faces tab and add pogostock.wad, and I'll make it a grassy checkerboard. There you go. Now let's just do all the boring busy work. I'm going to draw in our checkpoint here. Make it a little taller. I'm going to throw in the info player respawn. Now I'm going to change the grid down to get the player situated in the middle. And then I'll use the alt arrow keys to rotate. This guy, I'm going to give him the name main1. I'm going to make this trigger checkpoint target main1. There we go. And then I'll move it up a bit and inside. Okay. Now we need some walls here, so I'm going to go back to the 64 size grid. Select the floor, and if you control shift, you can drag some walls in. I'm going to select all three with control click, and then boom, add some texture. I'll lift these with alt click, and then raise them a bit with shift click. I'll make them 3 blocks tall. And I'll grab this floor and I'll control alt, put it up here. And that texture's, I'll put this for now. Okay. Now let's just, for sanity's sake. Okay. Sweet. Now for my next trick. I'm actually going to delete these 2 walls. First, I'll take the last remaining wall and change the texture to tool underscore no draw. And then I'll shift click this face to select only this face, and I'll put cliff back on it. Any face with this no draw texture is actually not going to exist in the compiled map, so you can't see it and you can't touch it. It's nice to put all of your out of bounds textures to be this, but it's a huge pain, and realistically, if your map is not gigantic, it's not going to matter. I'm just showing you to make what I'm about to do more obvious. Now I'm going to select the wall, and I'm going to make it a group with Control G, and I'll name it Wall 1. And then I'm going to create a linked duplicate with Control Shift D, and that will appear in place, so be sure to drag it out. Gonna use the Alt arrow key to rotate it, line it up, and then once you have the linked duplicate created, you can just control click to create another one. So I'll just put the third wall in. Now, let's say I want to put this so it's like got a little bit of sky at the top. What you can actually do is click into the linked duplicate, and you'll see like the rest of the screen will turn blue, and then you click it again. Now I'm going to use Control Shift click to slice. If I take this top face with Shift click and put the skybox on it, you'll see the linked duplicates also update. This is extremely powerful and saves you a ton of scrambling back and forth to try and get everything to look the same. So you should abuse this as much as possible. And for the rest of the making of this map, I'm going to be doing just that. So let's make some more stuff a linked duplicate. How about the floor and the ceiling? Control click to select both, and then I'm going to Control G to group. And I'll name this, I don't know, floor. And then I'll Control Shift D to make a linked group. Don't forget to drag it out. And then let me just put these out here too with Control drag. And now you can actually inception it. So if I select the floor and these two walls, I can Control G to group them, and I'll name this chunk straight. And now I'll Control Shift D to make a linked group. And look. Okay, right? Dude, isn't that nuts? So now I don't have to screw with anything. If I want to make the hallway longer, I can just take this Lego piece and I can spam it as much as I want. I'm not going to do that though. There's one thing that might cause you pain, which is if you take your linked duplicate and you destroy the last link, it destroys your linked duplicate. And then if that happens, like changes to one of them will not affect the other. So just be careful when you decide to finally spawn your linked duplicate. That when you make a copy of it, that it's linked when you do it, because that can really screw you over. Okay, the next thing we need is probably some sort of hazard. So now I'll show you that you can destroy your group if you click on it and ungroup. And then I'm going to take this floor object inside of it. I'm actually going to ungroup it as well. Now let me take this ground and bring it down. And now the wall doesn't quite reach, so if I go into the wall, I can lower it. All the walls update, of course. And then this floor doesn't go down all the way, so I'll go into the floor and I'll make it a little lower. Cool. Now I'm going to add some water here. I'm going to take a small grid size like 8 just to lower it a little bit. Now I'm going to create a trigger kill. This works just like water in the regular game. And now I'm just going to take these 3 pieces. I'm going to group these into a, I don't know, lake. Call it a lake. Sweet. Let's build out the map a little bit here. I'm going to put a floor here. This will be my first checkpoint. Then I'll make a corner with the water here. And when I'm copying these walls, I'm going to run into our first problem with this approach, which is some overdraw. Now, since these are no draws, it'll technically work fine in game. But to fix this, you can just click into wall 1 here, and I'm going to select the vertex tool and grab these edges with control click and then bring them in, and these ones too. And now you'll see that there's no more overdraw. Let me just finish up these other faces. So I loaded the map, and you can see that there's some of these extra faces being drawn for the water that's touching each other. So let's fix that real quick. I'm going to select my lake. Actually, I just noticed that this is not a linked group. I never made it one. So I'm going to delete these other lakes real quick and Control Shift D to make it a linked group, and then put it back around. It's my bad for messing that up, but I thought I'd include it just so you can see. Don't be a baby. It's not that big of a pain to copy it back around. Okay, anyway, let's go into this group, and I'm going to Control I to hide everything except for that. And I'm going to shift click these edges and put no draw on them. And then I'm also going to make a mistake here and put no draw on the bottom face as well. And I will show you right now why that's a mistake. I'll just compile the map and load it. Okay, here I am in game, and you'll see that the first issue with the water is fixed, but we are running into a new problem here, and that is that this water hitbox is a little taller than it's supposed to be, which you can see from the splashes. Unfortunately, I have to go into a small tangent here about convex shapes, but the short answer is this trigger kill has convex set to 1. So if you set this to 0, it will fix this problem, but also if you paint the bottom blue, it will also fix the problem. And here's the long-winded explanation. If I just draw some weird shape here, I can actually select all of these and combine them into the same trigger kill. This is going to work, except because the shape is convex, this is not what the collider is going to actually be in game. If I hit Control J, it's going to turn this into a convex hole for me. And you'll see that it connects this little overhang corner and turns this all into a single block. This is the shape as it will actually appear in game. But when no draw textures are used as well, it gets a little funky. So if everything except for this top face is a no draw, the convex shape, instead of being infinitely thin like this, it's actually going to look like this, a little taller and a little shorter. I don't know why Unity does it this way, but that's just how they do it. And the easy fix to that is to just paint the bottom of this blue, and it works. Don't think about it. But if you want to have a funny shape, it's otherwise impossible to make the game work how you want it to. What you can do is you can select your trigger entity and set convex here to 0, and it will work. You won't be able to do this with teleporters. That will break. There might be a couple other problems with it. It's also slightly slower, but I don't think, that it's going to make your map laggy unless you're really abusing concave triggers everywhere. So I wouldn't worry too much about it. For the sake of this map, though, I am just going to take the bottom of this and I'm going to put the tool kill texture back on it. There we go. And now when I compile and reload the map, the collider on this is going to be the right height. Now it's time to reap the rewards of setting our map up to be easy to finish. I can actually just start spamming these, these pieces pretty much everywhere as fast as I can go to construct a map of any size. And for this video, of course, I'm only using this one kit, I'll call it, with wall, lake, and floor. But you can mix and match these, or create a couple unique parts that look different. Like maybe over here I could replace this wall with like a cliff of a slightly different height or something like that. Just really I think getting creative with it will really shine through when the map is finished. So just let me quickly finish up the geometry for this map, and I'll throw in some checkpoints and a finish line, and we'll call it that. Call it finished. Alright, there you go. And that's how you don't go crazy while making a map for Pogo3d. In the next video, I'm going to cover a few more entity types and talk a little bit about custom textures, so stay tuned for that one.